Alright, hey guys, welcome to your first algebra video. I'm going to explain a little bit about the process before I go through this video. Usually I'll have the learning target up here so you know exactly where you are. Make sure you find the place in the notes. Today it's just going to be the first page. We're going to go through some vocabulary terms, and then we're going to go through an example together, and then I'm going to give you an example to do for class. Okay? My one request for this is that when you take down these notes, you either do it, actually, you know what, I would take down notes after I've talked through them, okay, because I'm going to add to them a little bit, so I want to make sure that you have space for everything. So just listen through, and then when I give you time, pause the video and take down the notes. So the first learning target is find equivalent expressions by applying different algebraic properties. So we're just going to go through some different properties today and see how we can manipulate numbers and terms to get the simplest form. First one is the distributive property. You should have already seen this by now in 7+. For any values of a, b, and c, it is true that a times the quantity b plus c equals a times b times a plus c, or plus a times c. So here we like to do what I call the swoops. So we're going to have two swoops of multiplication. So inside here, and you're used to order of operations says do parentheses first, but sometimes we're going to have variables in here. So that's when we need to distribute. So we're going to take a times b, which could also be written as just ab, and a times c, which is also could just be written as ac. Okay, this could be the same thing. If this were a minus sign instead, we would just change everything there. All right, so it's plus or minus anything there. Like terms, a term has the same variables raised to the same exponents, okay? So for example, 3xy is a term, and 3x squared y is a term, and that would be y to the first power. And 8x squared y to the first power are like terms. In a simpler version, 3x plus 8x. Those would be like terms because they have the same variable, or 2n squared plus 5n squared. Those are like terms because they have the same variable to the same power. It would not be the same if this were 5n to the 8th. Those are not like terms because there's a different exponent there. Or if instead of n, this were m squared. Those are not the same because they don't have the same variable. Okay, so like terms have the same variables to the same exponents behind them. And then we can add them or subtract them just the way they are. So if we had 8x squared y plus 3x squared y, altogether that would be 11x squared y. Okay, now if we, instead of adding, if we subtracted 8x squared y minus 3x squared y, then we'd have 5x squared y. All right? This process is called combining like terms. Again, something that you should have heard before. Then some other properties that you're going to need to know and get down here in a second are that, and this is pretty intuitive. I mean, I think most of you know this by now. But if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. So if this is the same letter and this, or the same number, and this is the same number, then those two plus a different number should be the same. Those two subtracting a different number should be the same. Those two multiplying a different number should be the same. And those two dividing by a different number should be the same, as long as that number is not 0, because you can't divide by 0. Okay? So why don't you pause the video there and take down those notes if you haven't yet. And we will move on to an example. So when we rewrite, it's also called simplifying. Okay, usually we say simplify an expression, and this part of the equation is an expression. Okay, an equation has an equal sign. That's what makes an equation an equation. An expression does not have an equal sign. Okay, so we're going to simplify this equation, but mostly concentrating on this part, the expression on the right. So 3 plus 2 times the quantity x plus 4. I see first I'm going to use the distributive property. So I'm going to take 2 times x and 2 times 4. And I'm going to rewrite that as 3 plus 2 times x would be 2x. 2 times 4 would be 8. Okay? And then I need to simplify by adding like terms. We don't have any other x's, so 2x will stand alone. But 8 and 3 are like terms, so we can add them together. So we have 11 plus 2x. Now this is fine, this is simplified, but mathematically we always write the highest variable, the highest exponent variable first. So I'm going to change this to 2x plus 11. Y equals 2x plus 11. And that's just best practice. Okay, this is still equivalent. This is just how we want to get used to writing things with that exponent in front. All right, so you can go ahead and make sure that's down on your notes as well. And then finally, for class, I'd like you to try to use a combination of the properties that we've used and we've talked about to write 3 different equivalent expressions. Okay, so not simplify all the way down, but write 3 different equivalent expressions. Okay, so that could be steps along the way. Try to have one of them be the most simplified version of this equation. All right, we'll see you in class.